Let's jump right into the big ticket item, which is Beyerdynamic being acquired by a Chinese OEM company. The company that bought them is called Cosonic, and their primary business seems to be manufacturing headphones. When we look at a couple of articles, which I will link in the episode notes and description, we see a couple of things that alleviate some concern that we as audio enthusiasts may have when we see a company as well regarded as Beyerdynamic being acquired. First quote is from Yahoo Finance, and it reads, "Most importantly to our readers in the consumer audio space, he confirmed that products will continue to be handmade and produced in Germany." Around 85% of Beyerdynamic's microphones and headphones, including the high-end T1 Gen 3 and DT700 range, the MMX gaming range, and Amaron wireless, are handmade at its production site in Heilbronn, Germany. Campbell said, "The expectation is that we will continue to be handmade in Germany. We expect that we'll continue to develop technology out of Germany as we have been." And that's the first thing that I read that alleviated some of my concerns, because it is undeniable I am a massive Beyerdynamic fan. They make two of my all-time favorite microphones, the M201TG, which is an instrument dynamic, which also sounds awesome on voice, and the M160, which is an insanely good sounding ribbon. It's one of my all-time favorites. And when I see this company that I love that makes great products is being acquired, I immediately think, oh no, not again. We're going to have another AKG situation where they shut down the Austria factory, or in this case, the Germany factory, or a Logitech and Blue situation where they acquire the company just for the Yeti and then let everything else just die on the vine. And that's something that I immediately thought when I heard this. I thought, oh no, they're going to shut down the German factory, which is where they make all of their microphones now. If I am not mistaken, maybe not the Fox, but the M series, the 201TG, 160, 130, MC930, all of that. Handmade? Maybe not handmade, but made in Germany. So as long as they are able to continue to run those factories, that is a good sign. The second thing that I want to share is a quote from Hi-Fi Nut, Speaker Nut, what is it called? StereoNet, StereoNet, not Nut. And it reads, or quotes, or says, "Cosonic has built its business as an OEM specializing in audio components for major brands, including Philips, JBL, Beats, Honor, Huawei, One More, and Soundcore. In 2024, approximately 77% of Cosonic's revenue, around $343 million, came from headphone manufacturing." And I think that portion of the article is likely indicative of why Cosonic was acquiring Beyerdynamic. I highly doubt a company that has 75% of its revenue coming from headphones is thinking, you know what we need to do? Let's get into the microphone market. I doubt anybody at Cosonic was thinking that. They are likely acquiring Beyerdynamic for the headphone market that they have, for the headphone technology that they have, so that they can implement that into products for all of these other companies that they're an OEM for. JBL, Philips, Beats, Honor, Huawei, One More, Soundcore, all of them. So we should likely expect to see some of Beyerdynamic's technology or sound character or whatever make its way into these products going forward, because why else would a headphone manufacturer buy Beyerdynamic? Maybe they just want the brand name. Maybe going forward, all of these headphones from these other companies will say, powered by Beyerdynamic or something. I have no idea. So this is just okay news to me. Because if the alternative was Beyerdynamic going out of business, then actually I think this is great news that a company has acquired them so that the brand can continue, that their products can continue to be on the market and available, and the people who work there can continue to have jobs. If that was the alternative, awesome. Also, the fact that the company acquiring Beyerdynamic is primarily an audio company, I think that's a good thing, because at least they have knowledge of that market, and at least they understand the value that Beyerdynamic, not only as a brand, but as a technology company, as a microphone company, as a headphone company, can bring to them. So I am really hopeful that this is going to be a positive thing for Beyerdynamic, and we are able to continue to see that brand into the future, see them thrive, and see them develop new things. Because it really seems like they have become a headphone brand, which I get. A ton of people love their headphones and rely on them. I'm a microphone guy, though. I want to see what Beyerdynamic develops next for microphones. What is the next studio quality microphone they put out? What is the next professional level microphone that they put out? Because it seems like it's been a while. They did put out a couple of content creator focused microphones, but I don't think they were really hits. I want to see what they do when they have the full force, the full funding of this new Cosonic brand behind them to develop some new microphones that aren't, please God, don't let it be, let's develop more gaming microphones. I get that's where the money is, so that's what makes sense for business, but I don't want that for this brand. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see them be, no offense to anybody who worked at Blue, I don't want to see them become another Blue where they just become the Blue Yeti or the Beyerdynamic Yeti. I want to see the M202TG. What's the next instrument dynamic that they would develop with all the new technology out there? Same for the ribbons. What would they do with all the technology that's out there now to improve on it? The M161. What's the iteration? iteration? That's such an exciting idea. I don't know what it is. Otherwise, I'd be working there and I'd be rich. I would make so much money. I don't know what's next. That's why they make the big bucks. And I want to see that going forward. This could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. I am just glad that the company that is acquiring Beyerdynamic has their, more than their foot, it has 77% of its body in the headphone realm, and maybe even more in the audio realm as a whole. So at least it's not a completely different technology company just acquiring Beyer for the brand name or whatever, brand recognition. So there you go. That is all the news on that topic. I'll link 2 articles in the episode notes and description. In case you want to dive a little bit deeper, there is a lot of articles out there. Hi-Fi sites are covering it like crazy because Beyerdynamic is a huge headphone company.